Hunters, welcome to the first Rise weapons tutorials. I'm super excited to make these and I hope they can be of some use to you guys. As always, the Kinsect Glaive is first up as it is near and dear to my heart. Now, Kinsect Glaive is a ground and aerial based weapon that utilizes an insect pal for extra damage and other perks. We'll be going over the basic move, some combos to keep in mind, some neat tips and tricks, and then finally we'll look at some armor skill suggestions. I will preface this by saying that I won't go into too much detail about the Kinsects. I do have a separate video on that, but we will discuss how to use them. So if you want to see a full breakdown of the Kinsects, take a look at the description below for a video. Alright, let's jump right on in because we've got a lot to cover. So for any hunt, one of the first things you want to do as an IG hunter is to get your buffs. Now the Kinsect buffs are seen at the top left of the screen. Your Kinsect is your little bug pal that sits in your arms and you can send him out to different parts of the monster body to get one of the 3 colors. Now if your weapon is stored, you can use the simple ZR to pull out your weapon and it sends your Kinsect in any direction that your camera is looking. I would recommend doing this at the start of a hunt by walking up to a monster and launching your Kinsect to get your buff. The monster probably won't be aggroed at the start, so you can easily get the one main buff that you need, either the red buff or the white and orange depending on the Kinsect that you have. If your weapon is drawn, ZR gives you the ability to aim, and then pressing X while holding ZR will launch your Kinsect to a specific part. Definitely better used when you're in mid-combat and you need to refresh your Kinsects. Now the indicator at the top left will change when the Kinsect makes contact with the body, and then you can recall your Kinsect using ZR plus A to gain that buff. Now a big side tip here, the Kinsect recall can actually be used to cancel a lot of attack animations for the IG, and this is going to save you a whole bunch of time in Rise. I will discuss and show some gameplay of this more in the combo and tricks section. For anyone new to Monster Hunter, red is usually representative of the attack buff. This buff actually speeds up and strengthens your techniques while also changing some of the heavy attacks, making it absolutely necessary for the Kinsect Glaive. The skills before the red buff are much slower and not worth the damage wise, so whenever you're in a hunt, make sure you have this buff. Now in World, it wasn't necessary to have all 3 buffs, but they've gone back to an older system which I really prefer, and now having white plus the orange buff gives you inherent earplugs plus brace. So when you have white plus orange, you can instantly have these buffs and you can ignore most monster roars and friendly attacks. It's very helpful for multi-hunts, solo hunts, and saves you quite a bit of jewel slots compared to other weapons. Now because of this perk, I want to take a moment here to just talk about a great Kinsect, the Foe Beetle. While it is a rarity 2 Kinsect, it is an assist Kinsect that always grabs orange along with another color. So at the start of any hunt, if you send this Kinsect out to grab white, it'll grab white plus orange. At the start of any hunt, a monster will roar to kind of throw you off. But as an Kinsect Glaive user with the Foe Beetle, you can actually get your earplugs before the monster roars, and then while it roars, you can grab red and then go straight into your attacks. The other benefit here is that since the assist Kinsects actually decrease the time that your buffs are active, you're going to need to get buffs more often. But using the Foe Beetle, it'll make it a lot easier to maintain having earplugs all throughout the hunt. If you are an advanced player and you know how to dodge roll roars, or if you're using the advancing slash, you won't be needing the Foe Beetle, and I'd recommend using a rarity 4 Kinsect. Now once you get all 3 buffs, they last for a certain period of time, after which all will be lost and you'll have to regain them again. So throughout a hunt, be sure to keep an eye on the buffs. When you start to see them flashing, that indicates that you have about 10 seconds before they disappear. While this is flashing, I would highly recommend that you send your Kinsect out and actually get ready to grab a buff. The second the buffs disappear, you can then recall your Kinsect and again either get the red buff so that you can continue attacking, or get the white and the orange buff so that you can have earplugs. Once again, I do have a video on the full details of all the Kinsects, so check it out. A final note I will make here though is that the marking system. Now you can mark a monster using the ZR to aim and then ZL to fire the marker. This marker, similar to the previous games, will force the Kinsect, as best as it can really, to go to that position every time it hits the marker. Most Kinsect Glaive users will place this on the head so you don't have to worry about Kinsect damage, you'll get the most from the head damage. The marker system works for most Kinsects except one. This is what I wanted to note, that the assist Kinsect actually doesn't use this marker system. The assist Kinsect actually follows your attack moves while sitting on your arm, so you don't need to mark any part of the body. The speed type Kinsect and the powder Kinsect will both be using this marker. The Kinsect damage is great in this game, it's buffed from previous games, but it's not better than your weapon, so don't waste too much time trying to mark the perfect spot. Now that you have your buffs, you're ready to do some attacks, and after that we'll talk about the best damage combos. The X button is your light attack, and it is a 3-move combo. Pressing X 3 times will get you the strong rising slash, followed by a reaping slash, and then a final strong double slash. Of these 3, you'll really only be using the first one more than anything else. The second one maybe, but definitely not the third double slash. It's got too big of an animation for a light attack. The rising slash is a good opening if you're standing still, but it also has an extra animation time which will slow you down. If you push the left stick forward while pressing X, you'll replace the rising slash with a strong thrust. Now this attack is actually one less, so it's much quicker if you're trying to fit in really quick damage. Like if a monster is just in the passing, you know, getting in that quick damage before moving and repositioning. The rising slash, however, has a nice perk, and while it takes an extra attack, if you follow it up with your heavy attack, you'll move into your final heavy attack, which is one of the strongest moves for ground insect glaive. I'll talk about this and a little bit of the combo in a little bit. One final thing I want to note before moving on to the heavy hits is that there is a quick dodge slash that I want to mention. Pull your left stick backwards and press A. That'll perform a dodge slash, dealing damage while making some space between you and the monster, and then you can quickly reposition. Now this isn't very helpful since IG has really great mobility, but in case you're ever in the wrong spot or a monster turns and now you're hitting a bad hit zone, you can just use this to pop yourself, get some damage, and then reposition. Jumping into the heavy attacks, let's talk about that A button that's on the wrong spot of the Nintendo controller. Now these attacks are much stronger, but they do have a slightly longer animation, so keep that in mind. Although in Rise there is a trick to get around it, which I'll mention in the tips and tricks section. Without moving, your heavy combos begin as a strong wide slash. Following that, you can do a high damage attack known as the Tornado Slash. The Tornado Slash is the highest dealing damage attack, excluding some of the Wirebug attacks. So tapping A twice will get you through this heavy combo. Now similar to the light attacks, if you hold the left stick forward and tap A, you do what is known as a Leaping Slash. Now this is a single hit with a slightly longer animation, so it does less damage than the wide slash, but it also sets you up really nicely to jump right into the Tornado Slash. So if you're ever in a situation where you need to close in on the monster and then deal damage, use the Leaping Slash to get that initial damage, close the gap, and then finish off strong with the Tornado Slash. Now if your weapon is stored, you can also do left trigger forward plus the X button to perform a Leaping Slash, which means you jump right into your heavy combo and then you can press A following that to perform a Tornado Slash. A final note here, the Leaping Slash is also fairly accurate and very similar to Tornado Slash, so ultimately, wherever your Leaping Slash lands, your Tornado Slash is also going to hit, which is why it is still the preferred attack by most speedrunners. Moving on now, while being on the ground is nice, the Insect Glaive is actually well known for its aerial capabilities. To launch yourself into the air, you can do ZR plus B, which will perform a vault jump. Now this gets you straight up in the air, and that sets you up for either dodging some small attacks below you or setting you up for some attacks. Now while you're in the air, clicking B again performs a mid-air evade. Now this evade does not need to be used right away, you can save it for whenever you like, but it can only be performed once between aerial moves. So once you use it, you must do something else, pretty namely an attack, before you can evade again. Now, while you're in the air, you have 3 options for attacks, although the third one is a new Wirebug move, so I'll discuss that in a little bit. The first one is the returning classic move that returns you to the ground, the strong jump slash. Pressing X will launch you into a downward spiral, dealing damage as you hit the monster. Now keep in mind that this move does not stop you mid-air and drop you, so if you have any horizontal motion, it will combine with the vertical motion and your attack will go diagonal across the body. I will make a note here that since the diving Weaver and Wirebug move is actually much better of an aerial finisher, this jump slash should no longer be used really unless you don't have any Wirebugs left. Or remember that this move actually doesn't drop you straight down, you can use it to cover some distance, catch up to a monster, and still deal some damage while landing on them. The second move is also very similar to World with an added change. Now while you're in the air, pressing A will launch you into a jumping advancing slash. This is the regular 6-hit combo that spins you in the air while doing damage. It's a great move with a final hit doing the most damage. Now the final hit will also launch you into something known as the vaulting dance. You don't need to click any for this, as long as you land that final hit, it'll throw you right back up in the air. Now similar to World, once you're up in the air you can attack with anything again and you can perform this same attack or dodge or whatever you want to do. In Rise, there's actually a beautiful feature that every time you do the vaulting dance, your damage actually increases by a set percentage for any aerial attack, stacking up to 3 times. This is absolutely crucial in Rise. The damage increase is absolutely insane, as pointed out by Paradise Central among other creators. Let's take the Diving Wyvern here as an example. You can see that the damage goes up almost 200% by the final charge. I've also confirmed this with other attacks, just as the regular aerial attacks and even the jump slash, your damage does scale. So if you'd like to see a full breakdown of this calculation, Paradise Central did a great job. I'll link his video in the description below. But essentially what we're looking at here is that aerial damage is actually viable, and to top it off, the motion values of the jumping advancing slash has also been buffed, so overall aerial has gotten a great rework. So the Wirebug is meant to be a high level skill that either does great damage or has some sort of amazing defensive skill or supportive skill. Every weapon has a unique Wirebug skill and you can switch them out for an alternative. For the Insect Glaive, the permanent skill is the Silkbind Vault. Now this utilizes a Wirebug to keep you moving in the air or to get you into the air from the ground. To perform this, you simply press ZL plus X from anywhere you are. If you are from the ground, this move also deals a single hit damage if you're close enough to the monster. However, my recommendation for this move is not to use it from the ground. You can continue to use the regular vault to get you in the air, but more so while you're doing your aerial moves to charge your attacks. If a monster moves or gets knocked or something unexpected happens, you can preserve your aerial charges by using the Silkbind Vault to relocate and reposition in the air and then finish off your attack on the monster. This is the true value of the Silkbind Vault. So here's an example in the Diablos. I'm attacking him and I cut his tail, pushing him far away. I Silkbind Vault to catch up, keep my aerial attacks going, and I use the Diving Wyvern to finish him off. Now I hit a 207 on a non-crit area, which means my attacks were still charged. Moving on to the second Wirebug move, and this is called the Kinsect Recall. Now this move is a huge defensive skill. In any situation, by pressing ZL plus A, you will pull out and back out really quickly and quite far actually, honestly, with some decent iframes. It's a great move to get you out of a situation, and if you're close enough to the monster and you dodge right when the monster is about to attack you, your Kinsect will actually heal you. For anyone that's ever played Longsword, if you basically treat this as a foresight slash, you'll get the heal effects. For everyone else, you're basically looking for that moment just before the monster is about to hit you. It's a great move in my opinion. In many ways, I wish I could replace the first Wirebug move since the healing effects is very handy, especially since we don't have health augments as of yet in this game. It makes IG one of the only self-healing weapon choices. Alright, let's talk about these switch skills now that we've discussed the basic moves, and we're going to start off with the third Wirebug skill. I'm going a little bit out of order here, but since we were talking about Wirebugs, let's talk about the third Wirebug switch skill, which changes the Kinsect Recall into the Diving Wyvern skill. Now I've talked about this a little bit more, but for those of you returning from Monster Hunter World, this looks awfully familiar. It's the Downward Thrust, only now it's limited to 2 Wirebug uses. To perform this is pretty much the same control as ZL plus A. Now this can occur from the ground, but as I mentioned before, your attack damage scales with aerial charges, so it's literally 200% better if you use it from the air. This is a fantastic skill for damage, definitely one of the highest dealing damages for IG has ever seen. It has a motion value of 80, which is actually far greater than any of the other attacks that we see in IG in this game. Capcom has done a superb job of balancing this attack compared to World. In Rise, it's a little bit more infrequent, but it feels so much stronger, both of which making it so satisfying to land. Again, I'll talk about how to use this Diving Wyvern slash a little bit more in the combos and tips section. Moving on to the regular 2 switch skills, the Leaping Slash is the first one that is replaced by what is known as the Advancing Slash. Now while the controls are the same, the playstyle is actually radically different. The Advancing Slash gives you a forward spin with 5 hits, moving you quite a bit of a distance. It's great in a hunt to close the gap between a monster, but also keep in mind, the farther you are, the less hits will actually land on a monster. Additionally, you cannot jump right into your final attack like the Leaping Slash. If you want to transition from the Advancing Slash to the final heavy attack, you must do an Advancing Slash, then perform a Rising Slash, which is a light attack on the X button, and then end off with your final heavy attack. So getting to the final move is a lot more work with this attack. Now this doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I think this move shines quite a bit on monsters that move around quite a bit and you don't have a lot of time to set up that final combo anyway. A final note though, I think this is the coolest part of this move, is that it can actually move as a counter move. So if a monster tries to hit you while you are advancing and spinning, you will actually take no damage, you'll be sent into the air, letting you dodge or attack the monster from the air. And as we've mentioned previously, the Kinsect Glaive in Rise shines quite a bit in the air. Next, and the final switch skill, is the Tetra Seal Slash. Now this is a very interesting and I'd say a widely controversial skill. The Tetra Seal replaces the almighty Tornado Slash with a 4 multi-hit attack which ends with a high damage strike. It's pretty cool, but honestly, to look cool, you have to give up something, and in this case, we have a huge animation lock that comes with it. You lose a lot of mobility. Additionally, if you start to attack, you cannot stop, you cannot cut it halfway through, so if the monster moves, you're in a very vulnerable spot. Sadly as well, the attack is very wide, meaning you are very likely to hit multiple hit zones aside from the one that you want. All of this not ideal for good DPS. The final attack does have a decent motion value to counter, and the attack does have a single blunt attack somewhere in front of the 4, but you're most likely always going to have to pair this with an assist blunt Kinsect or powder Kinsect to get some extra damage to knock the monsters. The skill does shine when a monster is knocked and you can output large DPS in a very short amount of time, but it's only when the monster is knocked, so basically the target must not be moving. So to generalize as well, this move is really only great against targets that have large hitboxes or are slow moving. So if you're using this skill, make sure the monster pairs very well with the attack. And that's about it for the attacks and skills necessary for the Kinsect Glaive. Now, let's take a look at combining these. So if you're returning from World or older games, the original bread and butter combo for ground attacks is still quite honestly one of the best damage combos in Rise, with one small adjustment. This consists of a light thrust attack followed by a strong wide slash and finishing with a tornado slash. It's a very quick combo, and it's the most important move is to make sure that you land that final tornado slash attack. That makes a key difference in whether you're actually outputting good DPS or not. If you have some extra time, you can also throw in a light attack after the wide sweep and then follow it up with a final heavy attack. So this gets you to 4 hits, and as I mentioned before, the rising slash can jump straight into your final heavy attack, making it a perfect transition for that final attack. However, the big change in Rise that comes with this combo and all the other combos is adding the Kinsect Recall at the end of your Tornado Slash. The Kinsect Recall essentially cancels out the long animation of Tornado Slash. Your Kinsect doesn't even need to be sent out, it can also be on your arm and you can still do this move. Now you can see here in this comparison, I gain freedom of my character much earlier if I use the recall than if I don't and try to roll instead. This is a big time save in my opinion, and thus if you use the first 3-step combo, the Kinsect Recall, and then do an immediate double A combo, you're doing a wide slash and tornado slash again. On a few monsters, you will be able to fit that second tornado slash in, which is huge bonus damage. I've done it quite a few times. I can truthfully say I've done this even on the final boss of Monster Hunter Rise. At the start, this may take you a little bit of time to get used to. Instead of a 3 combo step, it is now a 6-step combo. But because of the quickness of this combo, you can definitely get it off with a bit of practice, including better awareness and good positioning on the monster. The next combo is the aerial combo, which is the next biggest DPS combo for Kinsect Glaive, only second because it only takes a little bit longer to set up. This is of course the triple aerial charge and then following a diving wyvern attack I mentioned earlier. So you begin by vaulting into the air or use the silk bind if the monster is far away. Do your best to get the 3 vault dances off by clicking A each time that you bounce off the monster. On your 3rd charge, you will not have much time left, so you need to know exactly where the weakest part of the body is. You're going to have to mid-air evade immediately by pressing B over the location and then instantly initiate the diving wyvern. The best part of the diving wyvern attack is that the Wirebug attaches to the ground directly beneath you and stops you mid-air. So all you have to worry about is really positioning over the monster and then initiating that attack. The position is very key as well, since the hitboxes of the monsters in Rise are quite small, and the diving wyvern also has a very narrow box, so you will miss if you're even a couple inches off. I would highly suggest you use this combo for any knock or any big opening that you see on the monsters. For mid fights, when the monster is still active and running around or attacking, you can use this, but it's still a lot more risky to go for 3 charges, so my recommendation is cap it at 2, evade and dive for damage. Again, totally up to you and how you want to play it, the situation, but I would say good damage is better than none. Alright, moving on to the next combo. If you are a few meters away from the monster and let's say they exhausted or they finished attacking while facing you, another combo you can use, is a very quick one, is the leaping slash to close that distance and then do any attack that you like. You can either jump into your final tornado slash from the leaping slash, or if you have some time you can perform a light attack, again notably the rising slash, and then from there into your tornado, or start your original bread and butter by performing another light slash followed by a double heavy. The next combo has to do with the advancing slash. Now again, your combos will change for this and you can't do what you can do with the leaping slash by jumping right into your final attack. You have to do that light rising slash and then a tornado slash. But all the other combos previously mentioned are viable with the advancing slash. Now the main combo that I want to point out here using the advancing slash is the counter plus the diving wyvern slash. You can use the advancing slash counter to hit a monster when they're hitting you, launch into the air, mid-air evade right over them, and then do a diving wyvern slash. Now most times you won't be able to charge this attack, since if the monster is attacking you they're probably really active, and again they might be mid-attack, so it's just safer to instantly get some attack damage and then clear out. Also, very notably, the advancing slash counter throws you way high in the air, so you probably won't be able to get back to the monster to do your charges in time, so your best bet is really just to evade and then do a diving wyvern slash right onto the monster. And there you have it, guys. So having gone through all the combos and skills, I do want to give my opinion here on what I believe works best, but ultimately this does come down to your playstyle and your preference. So let's start off with the diving wyvern Wirebug skill. Hands down, this is absolutely should be on all the builds. I just think that it's such a good attack, and with Aerial being so well buffed in this game, it's a no-brainer that you don't need the Kinsect recall. You know, as the saying goes, the best defense is a good offense. So in this case, why dodge and heal when you can attack with massive damage and get a knock? Number 2, I love pairing the advancing slash with the tornado slash. These two give me quite a bit of utility and a chance to do some cool counters and have some fun while still getting some good damage with the tornado slash. As long as your positioning and awareness is solid, you won't be too far away from the monster, and thus you won't really require that leaping slash. If you somehow do end up far away, the advancing slash can bring you close, and you can start with a rising slash and then begin any combo. Finally, using the advancing slash opens you up to the ability to counter any attack that might be coming right at you, or if you see an opening and want to utilize it, you can go ahead. If not advancing, then as usual, the leaping slash is still very good. It's definitely the speedrunner preference, so paired with the tornado slash, it is still definitely the highest dealing combo. Now, for better DPS, I do use the assist Kinsect. However, this does have a shorter duration for your buffs, so you have to be well versed in how to get your buffs really quickly. But if I'm looking for more chill hunts, I do tend to use the speed charge chain attacks. Now this is a lot of fun to use and they're great damage. However, they do add an extra step in your hunts to make sure that you mark and launch your Kinsects before every combo. A double negative though on that is that because of the Kinsect recall ability, you're already honestly doing this after every combo. So this Kinsect is actually very viable that you can just launch the Kinsect, attack, Kinsect recall, and then repeat. So again, if you'd like to know more about the Kinsects, be sure to check the Kinsect video link in the description. Now, finally, we have reached the final part of the video, guys, and armor skills are definitely a very key thing to have for most weapons in the game. I'm not going to go into full builds in this video. I'm just going to talk about some of the skills that you should really keep an eye out for, and then you can make your own builds or check out some of my other videos for certain builds. So starting right off, just like any other Blade Master, Weakness Exploit is great. In Rise, you ideally want this on the Talismans. So far, I've only seen a 2 Wex Charm combined with other perks, but there may be something better out there. By all means, take it. But ideally, you should be going for that 2 Weakness Exploit Charm. Critical Boost and Critical Eye, both great. If you're using the Nargle weapon though, Critical Eye isn't as important because the Weakness Exploit plus your weapon actually gives you about 90% Critical Eye. That's pretty good. Attack Boost is another one that's great for adding some extra damage, if and when you can fit it on the build. A perk actually more specific to Insect Glaive among a couple other weapons is the Power Prolonger though. If you're looking for a more comfy build, this extends the duration of your Kinsect buffs, which will help you focus on damaging for longer and worrying less about your Kinsect buffs. Stun resistance is also a good one. I've actually noticed quite a bit of other monsters in Rise that are actually stunning quite a bit, so if you find that you're getting knocked down quite a bit, think about adding some stun resistance jewels. Speed sharpening is also super helpful, especially this early in Rise. If you're watching this video months later, it may or may not be relevant anymore, But for starting the game, it's very helpful since all of our weapons need constant sharpening. Adding on to that as well, protected polish is a very nice skill that most weapons don't have large blue or white zones, so protecting those for a certain amount of time is very handy. And that, my friends, is a complete breakdown of the Insect Glaive in Rise. I love this weapon in this game. It's been so much fun. As an Insect Glaive main coming from World, it just made my heart soar when I got to finally try all the skills in this game. I truly hope that this tutorial helps some of you out there. If you have any comments, concerns, questions that I should address, please put them in the comments before, and I will take a look and maybe even make a follow-up video to this. I'm a fairly new YouTuber, so I appreciate you watching, taking the time, supporting the channel. Thank you so much. Send it to your friends if they're looking to get into playing some Insect Glaive. And yeah, if you'd ever like to join me for hunts, I'm always hunting over on Twitch, or you can join my Discord and hang out with us. That's it for me, guys. Till next time, hunters, stay safe, be happy, and keep hunting. Scott Sensei is out.